The Galactic Academy was unusually quiet. Hundreds of alien students filled the giant hall, sitting on floating benches made of crystal. The walls sparkled, reflecting stars, planets, and distant galaxies in holograms above them. Every detail of the universe hung in the air, waiting for discussion. At the center stood Professor Ka-Reth. His long robe shimmered, and his eyes held centuries of knowledge. He was calm, collected, and deeply respected. Today's lesson was meant to be simple. "Deathworlds do not exist," he said, his voice echoing softly. A wave of agreement ran through the hall. Aliens whispered to each other, nodding. "Worlds with extreme gravity, deadly predators, violent storms, unstable tectonics, such planets cannot create intelligent life." Images appeared around him, planets where the sky burned red, oceans teeming with monsters, lightning storms that split mountains, and volcanic lands that could swallow entire cities. Life may survive, but civilization impossible. Students murmured in agreement. Many laughed. Some whispered, mocking those primitive species who claimed to survive such planets. In the back row, a small figure sat quietly. She seemed fragile compared to the towering aliens around her. Her name was Elena. She was human, a young girl from Earth, listed as Level 3 habitable, safe, stable, ordinary. She listened without fear. She had been to classes like this before. Aliens always laughed at humans, always doubted them. But Elena had a quiet confidence. She knew the truth about her world. Professor Ka-Reth continued, showing images of survival myths. Some primitive species enjoy exaggerating their hardships. They tell stories of impossible worlds, but it is fiction, nothing more. A few students chuckled. The room was filled with the sound of soft, mocking laughter. And then a small hand lifted slowly into the air. All eyes turned. A hush fell over the room. Even the laughing stopped. "Yes, human?" the professor asked, his tone sharp, curious. Elena stood. Her small figure seemed even smaller, yet her voice carried across the hall. "But sir, what if you are wrong?" The words hung in the air like a challenge. The students froze. The images faded. The lesson stopped. For the first time that day, the Galactic Academy was silent, not in obedience, but in uncertainty. A human girl had dared to question the impossible, and no one knew what would happen next. Professor Ka-Reth's eyes narrowed. The calm authority in his voice had shifted. "Explain yourself," he said, leaning slightly forward. Elena stood and walked slowly toward the center of the hall. Each step was quiet, measured, but full of confidence. She did not look afraid. She did not hurry. She had a story to tell, and the hall had to listen. "My planet," she said softly, her voice cutting through the whispers, "has oceans that can swallow entire cities." A hologram of Earth appeared above her hand. Blue oceans churned violently, waves crashing over tall buildings. Lightning flashed across storm clouds. The students gasped. Many had never imagined such fury from a Level 3 habitable world. "Gravity is strong, 1.0 standard. That is high for most species." More gasps filled the room. She paused for a moment, letting the weight of the words sink in. "Predators hunt for sport," she said next. Holographic images appeared one by one. Sharks circling deep waters, lions stalking prey across golden plains, crocodiles snapping jaws in rivers. A few students murmured among themselves. Their disbelief was growing. Humans had been mocked for years as weak, yet these images told a different story. Storms tear entire coasts apart. Hurricanes spun across holographic maps, uprooting trees, smashing buildings, flooding cities. The winds howled in simulated sound, echoing through the hall. Earthquakes split the ground open. Volcanoes erupt without warning. Our world changes violently every day. The professor's brow furrowed. He looked at the data, then back at Elena. "That classification is incorrect," he said slowly, unsure of his words. Elena shook her head. "It is not incorrect, it is incomplete." The room shifted. Students leaned forward, drawn by the truth in her words. There was no boasting, no arrogance, only facts. "My world tries to kill us every day," she said quietly, almost as if confessing a truth long known but rarely spoken. The professor was silent. His mind raced. He had studied countless worlds, analyzed countless species, yet this tiny human girl was rewriting what he thought he knew. "And yet," he finally asked, voice measured but heavy with curiosity, "how did your species survive?" Elena's lips curved into a small, almost imperceptible smile. "We adapted," she said simply. A ripple of quiet astonishment moved through the hall. Some students could not believe it. Others looked at her with newfound respect. For the first time, the aliens realized humans were not fragile. They were survivors. The hall, once filled with laughter and doubt, now held a tense, respectful silence. All eyes were on the human girl who had dared to challenge centuries of knowledge. And Elena knew something the others did not. Survival was not luck. Survival was learning. It was adaptation. It was courage. She had only raised her hand, yet in that moment she had changed how the entire academy saw her species. Professor Kareth activated the Academy's deep scan system. Holograms and data streams floated into the air, glowing brighter than before. Numbers, images, and reports filled the hall. The truth about Earth began to emerge. Gravity was higher than the galactic average. Every step humans took required strength, balance, and endurance. Predators were everywhere, on land, in water, and in the air. The density of dangerous creatures was extreme. Weather was unpredictable and deadly. Hurricanes, tornadoes, blizzards, and heat waves struck without warning. Even the tiniest microbes were lethal. Bacterial diversity alone could kill an unprepared species. The hall became completely silent. The kind of silence that presses against the chest, heavier than gravity itself. Why has this been hidden?" whispered one alien student, voice trembling. Elena's eyes met the question. She said softly, "We did not hide it. You never asked." She stepped forward, letting her words float through the hall. Humans learned to survive, to endure, to adapt. Holograms of Earth appeared, humans building shelters against storms, climbing mountains, crossing oceans in small boats, humans defending themselves against predators, fighting diseases with early medicine, humans huddled together during ice ages, surviving temperatures that would kill most creatures instantly, humans surviving wars, famine, and each other. "We are not strong because Earth is gentle," she said. Her voice grew firmer. "We are strong because Earth is not." The professor's voice dropped. "If this is true," he said slowly, almost in disbelief, "then Earth qualifies as a death world." A hush fell over the entire hall. Students leaned forward, wide-eyed. Aliens who had mocked humans for centuries now stared in stunned silence. Deathworld. The word echoed in the minds of everyone present. Real, not myth. Elena remained calm. She did not boast, she did not shout. She simply stood there, the proof of what she had just said, a living testament to survival, resilience, and adaptation. Some students exchanged whispers. They survived all that? Yes, another said quietly. Humans survived everything Earth threw at them. The professor looked at Elena. His eyes were wide, filled with both wonder and respect. I underestimated you, he admitted. The room was still. The alien students who had laughed before now felt a strange mix of fear and admiration. Humans were not weak. Humans were fighters, survivors, masters of adaptation. Elena smiled faintly. It was not pride, but understanding. The hall had seen a glimpse of truth that few species could imagine. And as the students absorbed it, one thought lingered in everyone's mind. If humans could survive Earth, could they survive anything? The word Deathworld had changed. It was no longer impossible, it was real, and humans were living proof. The Academy Council was summoned. A circle of the most powerful and respected beings in the galaxy gathered. Their tall forms glowed with authority. Holograms and data streams floated around them, painting the image of a world they had never truly understood. Elena stood in the center of the council chamber. She did not tremble. She did not look small. To the council, she was still a young human girl, but now she carried the weight of truth. "You claim your species survives a death world," one council member said, voice sharp, echoing in the hall. "We demand proof." The council activated simulations. Massive holographic environments surrounded the chamber, blistering deserts, freezing tundras, raging oceans, crushing gravity fields, radioactive storms, and terrifying predators. First came human endurance. Elena walked into the simulation unflinching, moving through ice, heat, wind, and crushing force. Next was pain tolerance. Holographic tests tested nerves, pressure, burns, and wounds. Elena endured them all with calm precision. Finally came adaptability. Situations changed every second. Predators attacked, terrain collapsed, storms struck. Humans had to survive, think, and act at the same time. The results flashed across the council's data screens. Shock filled the room. Humans survived conditions that shattered other species. They endured extremes of cold, heat, radiation, and crushing pressure. Even under emotional stress simulations, recovery rates were astonishing. One council member's voice shook. "If your world is so dangerous, why expand into space?" Elena's eyes met the holograms around her. She spoke quietly, simply, yet every word carried meaning. "Because we are used to surviving," she said. Her voice echoed softly in the chamber. The council waited. She continued, "If space is dangerous, then it feels like home." Silence. The council had feared death worlds. They had assumed any species from such a world would be fragile, reckless, or hopeless. They had never considered the truth. Survival on a death world breeds strength beyond imagination. Elena did not raise her voice. She did not shout. She simply stood there, proof of every word she had spoken. The council members looked at each other in disbelief. Some were awed, some feared what this meant. A human species, born in constant danger, not only survived, it thrived. One elder whispered, almost to himself, "A species shaped by death cannot fear death." The chamber, once filled with authority and doubt, now felt smaller. Humans, once dismissed as weak, were now the measure of true resilience. And in that silence, Elena realized something profound. It was not her words, nor the simulations that changed the council. It was the undeniable fact of her existence. The human species had not only survived Earth, they had mastered it. And now they stood ready to face the galaxy with the same courage, the same adaptability, and the same unyielding strength. The Council could no longer deny it. Humans were different. Humans were dangerous, not in anger, but in survival. And the galaxy would soon learn why.
Days passed, but the hallways of the Galactic Academy buzzed with a quiet tension. Holographic news screens flashed with updates. Reports of Earth's capabilities spread across the galaxy. Finally, the official decision came. Earth was reclassified. Level 9, confirmed Deathworld. But the meaning of the word had changed. Deathworld no longer meant impossible, nor uninhabitable. It now meant resilience, strength, adaptability, humanity. Back in the Academy Hall, Professor Kareth stood before his students once again. His robe shimmered under the crystal lights. His eyes, usually stern and unreadable, now held a rare softness. "This lesson," he said slowly, letting each word hang in the air, "has been corrected." He turned to Elena, the small human girl who had started it all. "You were right," he said. The alien students stared. Some shifted uncomfortably. Some whispered. But all of them looked at Elena differently now, not with laughter, not with doubt, not with the smug superiority they had once carried, but with respect. Elena sat down quietly. She did not smile too much. She did not boast. She had not come to start a revolution. She had only raised her hand, only asked a question, only spoken the truth. And yet, it had been enough. The room felt lighter. The galaxy, it seemed, had a new understanding. Survival was no longer a word for the weak. It was a measure of courage, ingenuity, and willpower. Aliens who had once thought humans fragile now realized they were something entirely different. Small, unassuming, but unstoppable. Elena thought back to the first day of class, to the professor's claim that Deathworlds were a myth. At the time, she was nervous, unsure if anyone would listen. But she had raised her hand anyway. Because sometimes, she knew, the truth does not wait for permission. The Academy would remember this day. The galaxy would remember. Earth was no longer just a planet. It was a challenge, a standard, a symbol. A species that could endure everything the universe threw at them, could endure anything. And the word Deathworld, it would never be spoken the same way again. Professor Kareth looked at Elena one last time before dismissing the class. "Never doubt the courage of one who survives their world," he said softly, almost to himself. Elena left the hall quietly, her steps light, but her heart heavy with the weight of what she had changed. She had not fought armies, she had not led a rebellion, she had only spoken the truth. And in doing so, she had changed history. Because sometimes all it takes is one hand raised, one voice speaking, one simple question: "You are wrong." The Academy would never forget it. And the galaxy? The galaxy had just learned what humans were truly capable of.